If it weren't for The Little Mermaid, I wouldn't be here today. This isn't hyperbole. Ariel is brave, strong, and true, and she inspired me to survive. You see, I never came out of the closet to my parents. I was outed, and they, being Christians, called me a sinner, questioned if I were possessed, told me that I was an abomination, and said that I was no longer their son. They broke all of my CDs, took my computer and cell phone, and isolated me from the rest of the world. I was only allowed to go to school and to church, and my parents even had teachers watching me during the week, making sure I wouldn't speak to any undesirables between classes. In truth, after a few months of this, I legitimately wanted to die. I thought about it, I planned it, all the while my arm was filling with scars that would never heal. But the one thing that my parents didn't destroy was my VHS copy of Disney's The Little Mermaid. And when I secretly watched it for the 1000th time, I cried. I cried because I realized that King Triton was abusive to Ariel just like my parents were to me, and like Ariel, I was left with no other choice. My parents had turned our home into a living hell. If I wanted to survive, I had to leave. I had to leave the only home I had ever known. I had to find my savior. I had to find my sea witch. And so I did. And I survived. By some miracle, I survived. But the scars will never fade.
So hopefully, now you guys can understand why The Little Mermaid is so important to me, and Disney itself. Even though Disney is kind of a reprehensible company sometimes, they've done some shady stuff, Ariel has always been very constant in my life. She's really important to me. When I was a kid, I was kind of obsessed with her before any of that stuff ever happened. I watched the movie about 10,000 times. I can quote the entire movie from beginning to end, dialogue included. I used to get really upset when my sister got Ariel dolls for birthdays and Christmas, and my parents would like force me into liking trucks and stuff, which I never did. It was just really important to me. And this is why I get kind of upset when Ariel and the Little Mermaid gets sort of misrepresented in the media. I'm not talking about the live action remake of The Little Mermaid and those basically racists that are upset because Halle Bailey got casted as Ariel. Because, I mean, look at this.
Unforgettable. That's what you are. Unforgettable. Though near or far. You're like a song of love that clings to me. How the thought of you does things to me. Wish that I am unforgettable too.
She is Ariel. No one has that voice. How is that voice even real? She's a superstar, and she deserves the role. And in my opinion, she earned it from the voice alone. But what really upsets me is when people say that The Little Mermaid is anti-feminist and Ariel gave up her soul basically to be with a man. Did we watch the same movie? Because I don't think we did. Ariel was obsessed with the human world before she even saw Eric for the first time. And to be blunt, If Triton wasn't such an abusive asshole, Ariel would not have felt so alone, and she wouldn't have gone to Ursula, and she wouldn't have basically put all her eggs into one basket and left her kingdom. The whole reason why Ariel left Atlantica was because Triton made her feel like that wasn't her home anymore. The same way that my parents made me feel that my home wasn't my home anymore. If Triton had just let it go and been easier on her, Ariel would have realized, oh, this is just a crush, and probably just moved on and married a merman eventually. But that didn't happen because Triton's an asshole. That's all I'm saying. Which brings me to this book, Disney and Philosophy. Series editor William Irwin, edited by Richard B. Davis. Blackwell Philosophy and Pop Culture Series. This book has not been approved, licensed, or sponsored by any entity or person involved in creating or producing Disney products or works. Now, the reason why I bought this book is because on the back it says, is Ariel a feminist icon? Not only does it ask this question, it asks it twice in the form of two different essays by two different people. This is just a collection of essays by a bunch of different people. The first one about Ariel basically ends up saying that Ariel is a stepping stone to more feminist princesses. The second one says that she's a terrible feminist icon and that she's basically, the worst one when, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty exist. But whatever, and Snow White. But, anyway, let's talk about feminism for a second. I'm not saying that feminism isn't needed. I'm just saying, as a former SJW who used to call himself feminist, feminism has become a religion, kind of, in the way that, like, it means completely different things to completely different people at this point. There are feminists who call themselves feminists who hate trans people. There are feminists who call themselves feminists who hate men. When I used to call myself feminist, I used to get cussed out by women saying that I'm not allowed to use that word because I don't know the women's struggle, which is fine. I don't. But also, you don't want people to believe what you believe? Isn't that the whole point of a movement? But anyway, the whole thing with J.K. Rowling right now is that people are calling her a TERF. But she called herself a feminist when she also basically fucking hates trans people. So, what I'm saying is, saying you're feminist doesn't mean shit anymore because there's such hateful people that use that word. So, like, why are we still asking, is Ariel a feminist? Why does it matter? She could be a TERF. I mean, who cares? But at the core of it, it's asking, is Ariel a good role model for little girls? Which I think she is. I think she's a good role model for little boys. I think she's a good role model for everyone. She goes after what she wants. She's brave. She doesn't give a crap. And she is rebelliously herself, which I think is fucking rad. There's one praising Frozen for its feminist ideals, which, let me just go on a tirade for a second. If Elsa was a man and not related to Anna, people would call that movie toxic. I'm just saying. Elsa was a bitch to Anna. She took out all her shit on Anna, and, like, that's abusive in my eyes. I'm sorry. Then there's Moana, and everyone praises Moana, but I don't think Moana's a good story. There's no plot to me. There's no villain. This has turned into a modern Disney bashing video, and I didn't mean it to be. I'm just saying, I don't like modern Disney movies because there's no villain. That's not constant, though, because I love movies like Inside Out, and there's really no villain in Inside Out. But I feel like Moana would have been was more suited to having a villain because it's like this grand sweeping journey, and I feel like it would have been more suited to having a villain throughout the narrative. But the one thing that came close to the villain was the giant crab that was obsessed with treasure, which okay. There's one about Toy Story which kind of upset me. It's saying, comparing the Toy Story movies to love and acceptance, and basically saying the most loving thing you can do for someone is be subservient to them and be owned by them. Comparing it to freedom and saying that freedom is love, and the most pure form of love is surrendering yourself to someone. So that the toys are owned by Andy, basically, and that's the most loving thing they can do for him. I thought that was kind of. Maybe that was just me reading into it like that, but no, there were parts of it that legitimately said that. So, okay. I'm not calling anyone out in here. If you want to read it, go pick it up. But that was a bit of a red flag to me. Now, I don't hate all the essays in here. A lot of them I really like. There's one about Goofy towards the end that's basically saying that Goofy is a good person, that we should all strive to be like him. And I really enjoyed that one. There's one that talks about the Lion King and comparing it to Hamlet, which Hamlet is basically its source material, so I kind of feel like that should have been done before, but I don't think I've ever read anything that actually compared it to Hamlet. That was fun. That was really cool. But my main problem is this book is probably my own fault. I picked this up thinking this would be a good intro to philosophy. It is not. It is hard as shit to read. I still haven't finished it. I still have a little bit more to go. And it is so hard for me to read that I can't. I had trouble taking it in. I would read it, but it would be like I wasn't getting anything out of it. There's so many big words, and I sound like an idiot right now, but there's so many big words and like references to like Plato and all those other guys whose names I can't pronounce that I was just lost when like the first page. I had to do a lot of Googling. I had to do a lot of meditating. I had to figure out. I basically Tetrised all of these people's words around in my head until they fit. Um, and it was hard as shit, but it was fun. I really enjoyed it. It's a new experience for me. Um, and I'm probably going to pick up more philosophy books after this, but this is not an easy read. This is not a relaxing read. Do not pick this up if you think it's just going to be a Sunday afternoon and you're going to be relaxing and reading about Ariel being a feminist or not, because this is hard as shit to read. It's by very smart people. I'm not going to talk about mistakes or typos or calling characters by the wrong name, because all three of those happen in these. Those kind of things don't really matter to me when I'm reading a book. Every book has typos, every book has mistakes. So if you're one of those people that like get off on grammar Nazis, that's not going to happen in any of my book reviews. Every book you've ever read and ever will read will have at least one typo. Get over it. Hi, I'm editing right now. I will mention one thing though. This book suffers from what I used to do a lot when I first started writing, which is you basically say the same thing twice in two sentences, one right after the other. But how do I explain this? Make it sound smarter the second time, but you're basically saying just the same thing. Like an example would be, it was raining. Indeed, wetness was falling from the sky. Like it's the same thing basically, and this happens a lot in like all of the entries in this book. All of the essays have it, but it happens a lot, and I'm still forcing myself to stop writing that way because it annoys me when I read it. Just write the one that sounds smarter if you want to. You don't have to repeat yourself in a different way. But who am I? I'm not the geniuses that wrote this book. All in all, I think I'm going to have to give this book 3.5 starfish out of 5. Yeah, 3.5 starfish out of 5 just because it was harder than I expected, which turned out fun, but it also, there's a few things in here that aggravate me. And I can only give my opinion. You guys could pick this up and be completely in love with it, and that's fine. I can only tell you what I like and don't like about it. But anyway, what's y'all's favorite Disney movie? Comment down below. The next book I'm going to be reviewing like this is Alice in Wonderland and Philosophy, which I'm really looking forward to, but that's going to be in a while because I'm going to reread Alice in Wonderland, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and Through the Looking Glass before that. And before that, I am going to review The Asylum for Victorian Girls by Emily Autumn. Yeah, that's going to be fun. The weekly writing prompt is still happening. The theme is Halloween. The due date is like next week. We'll say next Monday. You can give it to me through my email at dccanipe@gmail.com, and I will read it aloud and put it in one of these videos. We're gonna have like a Halloween special, and I'm gonna read everyone's work. I already have 2 entries, and they're really, really good, and I already finished mine, and I'm really excited about it. So if that interests you, I'm gonna have links and stuff in the description for that video, so that watchers will be able to come find the rest of your work. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you guys contribute. I'll see you guys later. Bye.